I was a loser like you when I was younger, and now I've gotten into the top like 0.001% of men. I became a millionaire in my 20s. I built a 10 out of 10 aesthetic body. I'm confident, happy, and healthy. I was not always like this, so follow my advice in this video and you can create this kind of transformation for yourself. We're going to cover the 3 best ways for you to get ahead of 99% of men. If you don't know me already, my name is Hamza. I help guys to get onto self-improvement. Number 1, improve your mental health. Most guys think that the things that they're struggling with, like what are you struggling with? Porn, video games, junk food, scrolling. Most guys think that those kinds of struggles are problems. They're not. Porn is not a problem. Video games are not problems. Eating junk food is not a problem. These are symptoms of the real problem, which is poor mental health. When you have bad mental health, that's when you do all of these bad habits that you focus on, like porn and going to sleep late. That's when you do them because you have bad mental health. And this is why it's been so difficult for you to get rid of these bad habits, because you're trying to focus on the symptom instead of the root cause, which is mental health. When you focus on the root cause, when you improve your mental health, then you know what's beautiful? You automatically get rid of those bad habits. This is what happened to me. So back in 2020, when I was like 22 years old, I had spent basically all my life just in this rut of bad habits, binge eating dirty junk food and playing video games and jacking my little pee-pee and you know, just being like a young man. And I had tried to quit those things before. Like I tried to quit weed and I just struggled with it. I would smoke every single day. I tried to quit junk food so many times and it would just feel like a full-time job resisting it. When I discovered the concept of mental health in some point in 2020, I focused on that entirely. Like I made it my priority in life to improve my mental health, which I'll teach you how to do exactly in a second. And what was beautiful about this was that, number 1, I improved my mental health and I literally felt happier and healthier. But number 2, I didn't realize this would happen, but I automatically stopped doing those bad habits that I thought were problems before this. I automatically got leaner. Like I literally lost body fat percentage because I just naturally, automatically, without effort, decided to eat less junk food. Before, it felt like a full-time job to resist the junk food. But when you've got good mental health, you just desire it less. Like you literally don't even think about it. The same with like going to the gym consistently. And getting out of ruts as well. Like I was just in one big fucking rut when I was younger. When I improved my mental health, it was like I just wasn't getting into those ruts. Because when you think about it, being in a rut, you know, when you fall off and you're not consistent on self-improvement, that's literally because you've got bad mental health. So if you're struggling with parts of your self-improvement right now and you're doing all these bad habits or you're not staying consistent on the good habits, instead of thinking about those problems, realize that they're actually symptoms of the real problem, which is mental health, and just improve your mental health. So here's how you improve your mental health. You have to literally just live like a real human being, like a natural human animal. The reason why someone has bad mental health is not because of some genetic bullshit argument that people like to just throw their hands up and say, yep, I was born to need antidepressants. Like that's fucking retarded. I genetically just happen to need to take antidepressants. That's a fucking lie. No one genetically needs to take medication. We are born like fucking animals and we're supposed to live that way, but then we don't. When you were a kid, you didn't have bad mental health because you lived like a human being. You went outside, you played in the mud, you created little games with your siblings and you'd play like catch or you'd wrestle with each other, you'd climb trees and jump over puddles. When you get to a certain age, that seems lame now. Like you can't live like that anymore. You can't be like the adventurous like adult, you know, you're 16 or 18 or 20 years old. You can't like climb trees anymore, except you can, and you still should. How we lived as children in that playful world is exactly how you still need to live as an adult. So answer this question with brutal honesty. When was the last time you climbed a tree? Can you even remember? Now, you probably think I'm a bit of a fucking weirdo for saying this. You're like, well, that's not going to improve my mental health. Yes, it fucking is. Try and be depressed when you're climbing up a tree and you're impressed by like how far you got up. I guarantee if you go out today and go climb a tree, I guarantee you'll start giggling like you used to as a boy. I guarantee for a few minutes you'll forget all your problems. It's only when you come back home that you'll remember them and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm still a piece of shit. But if you do things like that every single day, if you put yourself in that childish, animalistic mood where you're randomly playing games, imagine you're walking to school or something and it's been raining and there's a puddle in front of you. All of the mature people who are all depressed scrolling on TikTok will walk to the side and try not to get wet. But the guy, like the kid who's got good mental health, will try and jump it, or he'll even fucking run across it. That's the kid, that's the version of you that is safeguarded from this modern day bullshit. So that's the big sort of philosophy that I want you to have. To keep our mental health high, we need to live like how we used to as children, in this constant state of play, of game, of nature and animalistic tendencies, just this natural way of living. Along with that, what's other things we can do? Well, we can meditate. We can basically take time where we're not staring into the screens. We're not really doing anything other than just focusing on one thing. So most people like to use the breath, but you can actually use anything that you can really focus on. Like, for example, a fire. Like, you could make a little fire, stare into it, and just notice it's like moving patterns. And the point of meditation, if you didn't realize, was you focus on something and then naturally you'll lose focus, so your brain will like think something. And the skill of meditation, like the act of meditation, is noticing that you thought something and then just focusing back on the thing that you said you would focus on. Some people, they don't understand meditation. I mean, most people don't understand meditation. So when they get that random thought, they're like, oh, see, meditation doesn't work, I can't focus. But that's like going to the gym, hitting bench press, hitting failure, you know, when you can't do another rep and being like, oh, see, I can't do any more reps. Well, yeah, you fucking retard. Like, that was the point. So with meditation, the point is for you to literally lose focus of the thing that you said you'd focus on, realize you lost focus, and then bring the focus back. Like, every time you bring the focus back, that's like one rep, one XP in the skill of mindfulness meditation. So go find something that you can focus on. So sometimes I like to sit out on my balcony and I'll see the birds fly around, and I'll do this interesting form of meditation where I don't focus on my breath, but I stare at the bird as it flies through the sky. And sometimes, you know, I'll lose focus, I'll start looking away from the birds, and I remind myself to look back. And all you're doing is basically just training yourself to be here in the present moment instead of getting like swallowed up into your mind. Other natural activities, like go spend time in the fucking sunlight. The things, like the advice I'd give you to improve your mental health will seem kind of condescending, and little like pussy liberal kind of soft, you know, new age people, they don't like to hear it. They like to hear that like, oh yeah, it's because of the government or some bullshit, or it's because of someone else, or it's because of my genetics. But the truth is, like, bro, if you literally just live like a fucking human being, you get sunlight and you exercise and you climb trees and you meditate and you stop fucking scrolling and gooning all the time, you will have good mental health. And when you have good mental health, I give you my word, all of your goals that you have, like building the body or making money or whatever, you will seamlessly, effortlessly make more progress in them than you are right now. Like, if you've been struggling with like your cravings for sugar, I guarantee you will get way less cravings, even if you don't think about your diet at all and you just start improving your mental health. The second thing that you can do to get ahead of 99% of guys is to build a 10 out of 10 aesthetic body. So I started going to the gym and dieting when I was like 17 years old. I'm 27 years old right now. So I was in college, which is kind of like the last few years of high school. And there was a particular day that I really want to tell you about. We had like a home gym in my garage, and it was, you know, like a little shitty like bench with like one of those small dumbbells with like some adjustable, with one of those small barbells and some adjustable dumbbells and random weights and whatever. And I would go in there in my like little pajamas, basically, in my like home clothes, put music on the speaker, and then just kind of close the door and just be in my own space where I'd start like kind of like, you know, hyping up and dancing and feeling good about being in there. And I remember one particular day I was really upset about something. Like, I think I was like texting a girl and she stopped replying or whatever. And I ended up going into the garage, starting this workout and, you know, warming up, getting into it. I start kind of like hyping up a little bit, dancing, you know, feeling like in a good mood. Like, after you've done a set, you're just kind of like killing time on your rest break. And a thought occurred to me, which I really want to give to you. And it was this reassurance that at some point I was going to have the ultimate 10 out of 10 aesthetic body, like this male model Hollywood superstar body, which I just knew for a fact was going to be an amazing asset in my life. It was going to make me more attractive to girls. It was going to make me confident. The assurity I had was like, as long as I don't quit weightlifting, I will have the 10 out of 10 physique. That was like a few weeks into me starting. 10 years later, I didn't quit. I have the 10 out of 10 physique. Younger me was right. The problem is that most guys are shaped like unattractive women. Like, I want you to think of a girl who's like kind of ugly. Think about what her body looks like, you know, without her sort of posing, but imagine she was just naked in front of you, just like stood there. Like weirdly like shaped titties, that weird kind of fat pouch and everything. I don't mean to be horrible, but if you just imagine that. Most guys actually look like that. Like, most guys have the body of like a 3 out of 10 woman. Like, it's fucking brutal. Most guys have titties. Most guys have like breast fucking mass. Most guys have that weird fucking like muffin shape in their hips. You know, like the fucking like hips that you'd grab when you're like fucking a girl. Like, most guys have got hips like that. Like, isn't that fucking kind of disgusting? Most guys are shaped like fucking girls. You probably watching this right now have got some breast mass. If you like go grab your little titties, guaranteed like there's some fucking estrogenic fucking gynecomastia mass behind your fucking nipples. Most guys have got bitch tits right now. So for you to get ahead of 99% of guys, one of the most clear ways is for you to go build that sort of male model, TikTok boy, Hollywood superstar physique. First of all, let's get rid of the reasons why your physique is being held back. It's kind of like having like a handbrake on a car. If you're trying to accelerate and go forward, but you're also pressing the brakes at the same time, your efforts are just fucked up. Why, on average, do guys have such shitty physiques these days? And there's one major reason which probably comes to your mind, which is testosterone. Our testosterone level should probably be about double, maybe even triple what it actually is. So you probably have heard this before, like testosterone levels are going down, but when you hear some of the real statistics, it might fuck with your brain. The statistic used to be that men's testosterone is going down by about 1% on average every year. So 50 years ago, our testosterone would have been about 50% higher. In the last about 5 years, that statistic has been changed. It's actually now going down about 2.5% every single year, which means that in 10 years from now, at minimum, men's testosterone levels, like the average, will be down by another 25%. And I believe it's not going to be that level. I think we're going to see an exponential decrease in men's testosterone and fertility because of a few major reasons, one of them being microplastics. I believe that in the next few years, we're going to see an exponential decrease in men's testosterone and also fertility. And basically the major reason causing that is estrogenics. That's like a word for things in our environment that fuck up our hormones. So you've probably heard some of these before, like receipts, BPA in plastic, like phthalates in plastics, basically plastics that, you know, on your phone case. Plastics are literally inside of our food, inside of our water. There's birth control hormones inside of your water. Like, you know, if girls don't want to get pregnant, they can take this pill called the birth control. But it's a chemical. And when they go to the toilet, it will not be filtered out when they have a piss in the toilet. So when you go to your tap and you get water, there's a little bit of birth control in there. There's chemicals in there that are not filtered out that literally are reducing your testosterone, increasing your estrogen, and also decreasing your likelihood to be able to have children in the future. Like, this is not anymore like a conspiracy theory. This is a widely accepted fact that men's hormones are being absolutely destroyed by the estrogenic compounds in our environments. You know, when you go to the bathroom and you're getting ready to like go to the gym and you spray the deodorants, that's reducing your testosterone. Cologne, fragrances, reducing your testosterone. When you brush your teeth, the toothpaste that you brush with is reducing your testosterone. Genuinely, I'm not being like some conspiracy theorist. All of this is widely accepted in like the literature these days, widely accepted, which means that there is a brutal destruction to your testosterone, which is leading to the destruction of your body. Microplastics might be one of the worst causes of this. Me and my cameraman were speaking the other day, and we mentioned this study, which was years ago. There was a study that found that on average, we as humans, we ingest a credit card's worth of plastic every year. So imagine picking up like a credit card. Imagine that much plastic you eat in a year. That study was about 10 years old. The newest research suggests that we eat this much plastic every week. So it has went up by 52 times. And when we eat plastic, like you're probably thinking, how the fuck do you eat plastic? There's microplastics in basically everything we eat. Microplastics are basically almost like invisible level of plastics, but in everything you eat, even in like the fucking air, if you drive past places which have got like a lot of construction or whatever, you're just breathing that in. When you drink water, there's microplastics in there. When you eat food, in fruit, in all the things that we eat, there's little bits of microplastic. In fact, there are basically zero humans who don't have microplastics in them. You could go research that if you want a fucking shock. You know how when scientists are doing like an experiment, they need a control group, which basically means they need a group which have like the illness and a group that don't, so we can create some kind of, you know, difference like for the experiments. When researching microplastics, there is no control group. 100% of humans who exist today, including tribes and Eskimos, people who live in like fucking random places away from civilization, 100% of humans have microplastics in them, including babies. You don't realize like that's fucking huge. That literally is decreasing our testosterone, which is leading to like weirdly shit-shaped physiques in men. And then along with that, we have like the choices that people are making today, the ultra processed foods, the weird oils that people are cooking their food in, all the chemical bullshit of the modern day is leading to like a destruction of your appearance, of that like hard aesthetic look that makes you look and feel masculine. So if you can start to, again, live that healthy lifestyle like we spoke about in the previous section, and start to research these things, just take an interest in them. I won't bore you with some of the details right now of the autistic things you can do, but I want to give you a philosophy which is going to help you. Be the natural guy. Like in your community right now, like in your home, in your family, amongst your friends, no one thinks about the ingredients of the toothpaste that they are brushing their teeth with. No one looks at the ingredient list. I want you, the next time you brush your teeth, to go and read the ingredients list and see if there's even one fucking thing in there that you recognize, because it's all chemical bullshit and it's all stuff that can very, very much deteriorate your health. And people don't know this shit. What you will not go wrong with choosing the natural path, the natural way. You won't go wrong with that. So that I want you to just have this philosophy, like you are the kind of guy who goes for the sort of natural stuff. Like for example, I live in Bali, so it's very common here. People are quite based in like, there's a lot of like conspiracy theorists here. I wouldn't even call them that, because conspiracy theorists are just like logical minded non-conformists, really. That they're right about 90% of things, like the people here. And so here there's a very big culture for that, which is a side note. If you're ever going to move somewhere, make it Bali, honestly. And so there's tons of stores here and cafes where they promise to use like natural ingredients. So I'll go to like the natural food shop, and one day when I was inside of it, you know, getting like all these ingredients, and I was getting like raw honey, raw ingredients, natural soaps and toothpaste, and I was buying it, I just kind of stopped and I was like almost impressed by myself. I was like, ah, this is fucking cool. Like you're like that cool, mature, classy man who shops at a natural food store because you actually read the ingredients of the things that you're eating. And not all the times. I'm not perfect. If I go to stay at a hotel and I forgot my toothpaste, I might even use their fucking little fluoride cancer one or something. If I like every now and then I go to a restaurant, it's like a special occasion, I'll try and get something healthy. I try and tell them to cook it with healthy stuff, but like every now and then I'll get a burger and it's probably got some fucking cancerous seed oils or something. But still, I try and make the intention, because I know that those things are good for my health, and it will help me to get rid of this modern day bullshit that's holding so many guys back. Because I'm telling you, even without going to the gym, your physique should have still looked like harder and more masculine. But when you remember being more of like a teenager, you know, before we started going to the gym, your natural physique, like if you just stood there, would have just looked fucking garbage because of these things. And so now that you're going to the gym, your physique probably looks better. It's good. That's awesome. But you're being held back by still living like this. Like, you know, the steroid taking bodybuilders like Sam Sulek and those types of guys who eat all the seed oils and they never speak about it. They eat like Pop-Tart or crazy shit like that. That's fine when you're blasting fucking steroids. It's like you're still going to gain a lot of muscle mass and whatever. But you don't want to live like that. You want to be like that healthy-based conspiracy theorist type of guy. And so I just want you to adopt that kind of personality where you're like, oh man, yeah, like I can't wait to move over to a healthy place. I want to get more sunlight. I want to eat more red meat and eggs and those kinds of things. That's just the foundation of like your health. Now let's actually talk about building the aesthetic body, because now we're not being held back by any random bullshit like fucking microplastics or anything. To build an aesthetic body, basically, you need to do weightlifting. You need to go and do resistance training. So you go to the gym, you lift some weights, you follow a really good program that will build you that aesthetic physique, which prioritizes the 7 aesthetic muscles. And they are neck, traps, upper chest, biceps. What's that for? What's the next one? Biceps, lateral delts, lats, and abs. I've just listed off a bunch of fucking muscles. You're thinking, wait, why are they the aesthetic ones? Basically, they are the muscles that will give you the V-taper. And the V-taper in a man's upper body is kind of like the hourglass shape in a woman's body. It's just literally biologically just fucking sexy. Like, imagine if there's a girl who has, like, she's wearing like a tight dress and she has that hourglass shape where she has big tits, small waist, and then big ass. Even if her face is not attractive at all, you'll feel a desire to fucking pound her. Even if you like, you know, you're going to be a good boy, you're not trying to look or anything. It's just a primal attraction. And for women, it's very similar for a man who has this shape in his upper body, from the front and from the back as well. Here's the problem though. Basically, no routines on the internet actually prioritize those muscles. And if you try and get like a workout routine from the internet, they'll just like, people will just recommend you to go on some stupid fucking bullshit plan, which is more optimized to like strength and hitting 1 rep maxes than actually building like an aesthetic, good looking physique. So this was like a fucking weird realization for me when I was younger. When I got into the gym, I specifically wanted to do it to build an aesthetic 10 out of 10 physique that appealed to the female gaze. But basically any talk online about physiques was all optimizing to the male gaze, to like go and do like fucking heavy lifts, strong lifts 5x5, go do like heavy squats and heavy bench press. That's not the shit that's actually building like an aesthetic, sexy looking physique. This is why, by the way, have you ever heard of guys who go to the gym and they say this sad shit of like, yeah, I went to the gym to hopefully get girls, but now only guys compliment me? Have you heard that all the time? Now I'm gonna be arrogant as fuck. Girls compliment my physique literally every fucking day. And if you've got a physique like I do, girls will compliment it every single day. Like, it will be the talk of their group chat and whatever. The difference is though that I had to really create like my own optimized workout routines for this. And you can do it yourself. The muscles that I just listed off, the 7 aesthetic muscles, whatever your workout routine is, literally just do this in a brain dead way. Just do more sets for those muscles and move those muscles earlier in your workout. Make a bigger priority for those. My full aesthetic body course, where I have literally the workouts made for you and everything, is inside of this program that I've got up on screen, which will be linked below if you're interested. With the aesthetic body course that's inside of here, you'll build a physique that actually appeals to the female gaze, and you also get like all the other like programs and courses inside of the Library of Adonis if you're interested. The third way that you can get ahead of 99% of guys is to get life experience. So I want to tell you that this weird, I don't know what it is, metaphor or analogy or whatever. So there's 2 bulls at the top of a hill. Bulls are like, you know, the big male cows. They're at the top of a hill, and below the hill is a herd of grazing cows. The young bull runs over to the old bull and says, hey, let's run down there and fuck one of those cows. The old bull turns around slowly and says, no. Let's walk down and fuck them all. I heard this and something clicked for me. I think because I heard this just like 1 or 2 years ago. And when you hit a certain age, which probably is not just yet, but like when you get to about 25, 26 years old, particularly if you've matured in life, you start feeling this transition from like boy to man. That transition probably should have been when we were like 13 years old, maybe 18 years old. These days, I'm telling you right now, you are not a man. At 18, even 21, even 22, I wouldn't have considered myself a man. I think I only just about considered myself a man maybe in the last like 1 year. From around 2024 is when I became a man. And I felt the difference, right? I felt how different my personality became. I became a lot more like still and slow and less kind of like ADHD sporadic. I started to like, you know, create a home for myself. I started to choose more of the classy options instead of the sort of young man options. Like, for example, to celebrate, young men will go out and get pissed, wasted, whatever, on like sticky floors and throwing up. And for men to celebrate, they'll go get a beautiful woman and go to like a cafe with her or to a dinner with some wine or something. You know, there's like a bit of a split. And I really noticed my values shifting in like the last year or so. So that little story of the 2 bulls came out to me. But the lesson here is for you to actually become the old bull, in the sense that you have this slowness and this maturity that comes from life experience. Because the truth is, look, most guys have no fucking life experience. And for you to, let's say you're 18, right? Or let's say you're 20 years old, and me and you want the same girl. She's beautiful, she's 21 years old. You go on a date with her, and then I go on a date with her. You have no fucking chance. Let's even say that I'm not allowed to use like the resources, the money, and I can't take her on like a fancy date or anything. And let's say that my physique is hidden as well. Let's say it's just what we talk about. Not even the body language or anything, just what we talk about. The things that you would talk about, the stories that you would tell would be unremarkable. They would be so unremarkable. You'll tell her about like, oh yeah, like in school, exam season and like, oh, Netflix and stuff. That's it. Most young men, when they're like younger than like 21, 22 years old, they have no stories. They have no interesting opinions, or if they do, they're too scared to say it. They're too scared to make the kind of like jokes that actually girls love to laugh at, like, like roasting girls, calling them like a little Jew or something. Most young men are like too scared for that shit. So there'd be nothing that like for you to really talk about. I go on a date, and you know what's interesting is like even good girls like chaotic stories. I've got like scars over my chest. I've got a scar here. I've got a scar there, and looks like a knife wound. I'm not gonna say where it's from, but like I have girls who'll see it, because in like I wear like an open shirt, whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, what's that from?" They're like proper touching it. What's it from? Go on, tell me, and stuff. And just that enough is already cool as fuck. Like think about that concept of like scars. Like when was the last time you really looked at any scar on your body? Every scar that you have has a demonstration of life experience and maturity, and they're so attractive to girls. Girls will love like a random scar on a guy, and they love asking for it. The difference is though, you're a dweeb and you'll answer her question right away. Oh, it's nothing, I just cut my finger one day. Do you think that's how I answer? I know I said it was going to be a fair battle, I wasn't allowed to use game, but I'll just tell you, when a girl does look at your scar, don't tell her the truth, bro. Just like kind of smile and be like, "Nah, I can't tell you about that just yet." It drives them fucking insane. They'll start climbing on you. "No, let me see. No, what's this one? And wow, you got another one there. Is that from a surgery? It looks like a knife wound. Go on, tell me. Go on, you've got to tell me," like this shit. Like, but the stories that I can talk about are pretty fucking chaotic. And I said this to you, like even like the good girls, the ones you would think wouldn't like me if I told them chaotic stories about drugs and crime and police and like other girls and everything. But I'm telling you, so far, basically every kind of woman has been incredibly interested in the stories that I could tell them. Some of them. I tell you more of the sort of male gaze stories in these videos, where I say like, "Oh yeah, I woke up and I jacked off," whatever. But I've told you some of the stories in my videos where like I've taken random trips to countries and then gotten in trouble with the police. I've like been here, done that, whatever. We won't go into too many of them, but like when you accumulate these stories and you have this life experience, it's so attractive to women because you can actually tell women stories about cool shit that you've done compared to the version of you that like can't really talk about anything. Now, if you're good at like banter, at flirting, if you have no real life experience, you can still attract girls just by being funny, by roasting them, by being like a bit of an idiot. You can really attract girls that way as well. But the truth is, you're probably not that guy. If you're watching this video, you're not that sort of like idiot Chad. You're more of the overthinker autist like I am. And so if you can turn your brain off and act like a bit of a retard when you're with girls, which is a little bit of what I do, then that can definitely work. You can still be attractive, you can get life experience, and that really puts you forward past other guys. But if, for example, you can't really dumb yourself down that much, then you having these cool fucking stories to talk about really adds to the substance of your life. When girls find out like I'm a YouTuber, when they walk in and they see all this shit over my wall, it's like, it's interesting as fuck. It's like, who is this guy? Why is his fucking goal say 5 million this year? Like, that's interesting as fuck, right? It's like super interesting. And you're probably like a fucking little bitch and you're thinking, "Oh yeah, but you're just getting gold diggers or something." Bro, you don't need to worry about gold diggers, bro. All right, you of all people, you should never fucking think about, "Oh yeah, but I don't want to get gold diggers. I don't want to tell them stories about like how much money I make. Relax. I know this is a side point, but like young men will comment this shit sometimes on social media. I'm like, bro, you don't need to worry about gold diggers. You live in like some random fucking town. You live in like fucking Bolton in fucking UK or something. Relax, bro. You're fine. They're not coming to you, bro. So I want to operationalize this and give you a tactical way that you can get the kind of life experience that is attractive to women and also to men. And it's actually, I'm going to tell you a story of a friend of mine from back home. His name is Zach. He's younger than me. I think he's about 19 years old, and he was the guy that I was going to the gym with in 2024. And one of the things that impressed me about him, there's quite a few. He's like quite like a mature, disciplined young man. But one of the things that impressed me about him was the trips that he would take. So him and his friends would basically take like budget trips, like budget travel, where they'd find a super, super cheap plane ticket. You know, you've probably seen them on like websites before, where for some reason you can get a fucking plane ticket to like Spain from UK for like £7. Like it's basically free. They would get that. They would like not spend much money at all. So, you know, they'd get to the airport, get the flight. They sometimes would even get a hotel. So they'd literally go for like 1 or 2 days, stay up, and then just take a flight back home. So in total, they'd spend like fucking like, I don't know, £50, £100 each on like a fucking random trip to Spain. So imagine it's like you say goodbye to your friend on chess day. You meet him tomorrow for like back day, and he's just been to Spain, or he's just been to a different country in that time, and he hasn't slept yet, and it was just funny as fuck because he's got like random stories or whatever. And so my friend Zach would actually do this pretty often. Like he's been to random countries in Europe for these little short trips. So it's well traveled at such a young age, and it's still on a budget as well. So the lesson here is for you to get life experience, there's loads of things you can do. But what I would recommend is if there's one way that I have personally seen in myself and in other men that has given them the best life experience. I know this is going to sound cliche, like I'm some fucking white girl with a high body count, but it's traveling. It really is traveling and going to new countries and new places. Basically, taking trips. Like every trip that I've taken, whether it's a short one where I went to some city and I stayed in a hotel for like 2 days, then I came back home, or it was a little bit longer and I stayed in like an Airbnb for like a month. Like I used to live in UK, and I would go to Scotland, which is still inside of the UK. You know, you drive to it like a road trip, and I would stay in like these beautiful like Airbnb cabins in the middle of the woods or whatever. And then other ones where I've moved to Bali now, or I've done like 2 weeks in Singapore and whatever, and I moved to Thailand and Dubai and whatever. Every trip that you take, there'll be just so much shit that happens that you will learn so much from. Like imagine I'm on a date with a girl, or even I'm like hanging out with the boys, and when someone mentions Dubai, I can tell them the time that I could have actually died on an operation table there. Imagine just straight away how fucking interesting that is. And the lesson from that was like basically to prioritize health and to not let that slip. Imagine how interesting that makes me if I'm like speaking to a girl and I tell her like, oh yeah, and that's why I take my health so seriously, because I had this surgery and it went wrong because I partied the night before, and this is why I don't really drink, I don't smoke or anything now. Like just imagine how interesting that is, compared to the kind of stories that a guy who's never traveled in his life would be able to say, like, yeah, you know, so today I woke up and I went to the gym and I watched YouTube videos. Oh yeah, you know, I went to school and there was science class and there was math class and there was English class, and exam season was kind of hard. It's like, yeah, congratulations, like, same, like, there's nothing special about most guys who just don't leave their fucking house. So I know this sounds like a weird bit of advice, because if you're young, you're thinking there's no way that I could like travel. That's crazy. But the tip I always give for, you know, these kinds of lessons when I give in my videos is don't think that it's impossible for you to do this within the next year or 2 years. Think about it. You're an ambitious, hardworking, dedicated young man who's on fucking self-improvement. It's not unreasonable to think that you'll save up a few £1,000s or dollars in the next few years that you'd be able to take like some wholesome trip somewhere. It's not unreasonable that a year or 2 years from now, you could be making money online in a business just like I am, like on YouTube channel, and then you can actually fully relocate wherever you really want in the world. It's taking these trips that will just give you the chaotic life experience that will make you more mature and help you to get ahead of the competition of men, whether this is attracting girls or just it's you know, getting respect from guys, or it's even just the maturity that's built up inside of you. Because I know I've mentioned girls a lot in this, because when we talk about getting ahead of guys, a lot of the sort of topic is often about attraction. But even just for you to feel like a mature man, you going through some shit, you having that life experience, like losing a loved ones, getting into an accident, those crazy things that we don't wish upon ourselves, that can still actually really develop you. Like, you know, there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And it really is the case for men that, like, the more scars we get, metaphorically and physically, often the more attractive that we actually are, especially if you have a good mindset about it. Like, for example, I could tell you a story of, like, me firing my first employee. Like, I hired a guy who was a part of, like, this community, like, you know, this self-improvement, whatever. He was quite well known of my kind of space. And I hired him as my assistant. He lived in India. The money was should have been absolutely life-changing for him, because I think I paid him about $1,000 a month, which is like more than what like doctors make in that country. And he just was slacking. He just kept on fucking up, making mistakes and stuff. And I delayed firing him for so long because I kept on thinking, let me try and train him. I kept on recapping the how to win friends and influence people like a fucking pussy, trying to, like, you know, send him a proper nice message like, hey bro, I know you've got potential, let's try it again and whatever. I'm just constantly giving him another chance, because the idea to fire him just felt so uncomfortable. Like, how the fuck could I do that? He was well known, people knew him and everything. And then eventually when I just thought, yep, just gotta fucking do it, I was gonna hire my sister as an assistant instead. When I finally spoke to him, it was like this massive relief of like, oh, you had this hard conversation. The reason why I'm telling you this story is, imagine that's an experience I've had, firing an employee who the money that you pay them could literally save his life. Could you imagine how that's developed me with that, like, understanding the significant role of being the employer, having hard, difficult conversations? Can you see how, like, life experience, especially for a guy, can just develop you so much, where now, for example, having difficult conversations is actually not really that difficult or uncomfortable for me. I actually, like, I'm pretty fucking good at, like, if I need to fire someone, or if I need to, like, you know, if you've got a girl and she's being disrespectful and you need to, like, put that shit down, I'm actually very fucking good with that. I can, like, drop people like this now because I've fired a bunch of people before, because I've had this life experience. When you haven't ever fired a person or broken up with a girl, the first time you do, it's fucking so difficult. You might like there's some guys watching this, by the way, who are thinking of breaking up with their girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've probably been thinking about it for like 3 months straight, just debating it because you're scared of the uncomfortable conversation. Can you see how you're wasting 3 months of your life, whereas I would have just done it faster because I've already got this life experience? So it's all of this to say, like, if you can accumulate all this life experience, these random moments, which often are pretty hard and uncomfortable when you're going through them, but they will develop you into that sort of old bull energy. And the best way to get this is to just go on more trips. So in fact, this program that I mentioned to you before, in fact, let me just show you something quickly. We have a feature on this, if you're interested, where like you can literally meet guys who are on self-improvement. Like, see this map here, where this is where our community members are, and you can literally see like who is where. So if you live in the UK, you can go click on this map, go find the members who live in a certain city like London, message them, and then go organize a meetup with them. If you live in London and you can get a cheap flight over to Amsterdam, there's 2 members who live there right now. You could message them, hey bro, I saw you're in the program. I might come to Amsterdam. Do you want to do a workout? Do you want to go get dinner? So people are making like it's the easiest way to make friends who are actually on like self-improvement alongside you. So the reason why I'm showing you this, one, I'm trying to sell it to you, of course. I'm not going to lie to you like, oh yeah, I'm trying to be wholesome or whatever. I want you to fucking buy it, because you join a program like this program here, you will find for the first time in your life other guys who are as serious on self-improvement as you are. And to wrap up this little point here, like, you know, life experience, you going onto this map, messaging the guys that you can see on here, like let's say you're going to go take a trip to, I don't know, fucking, you're in the US or something, and there's someone who lives here in Texas or something. You're like, fuck it, like a flight to Texas from your state's like $57. You're like, fuck it, everyone talks about Austin. What if I just go do a trip there for the weekend, just to go see? And imagine, like, bro, imagine some crazy shit happens, you know, in US, there's a lot of fucking weird shit happens. You go to Austin, there's like a crackhead on fentanyl who's like tweaking out at you. That's a story you're literally going to be telling people for years. Plus the fact that you'll message one of these guys who are inside of this community, which is linked below, and you'll be with like another guy who watches my videos, who's on self-improvement, who goes to the gym, who doesn't fucking vape and whatever. So this is why, like, I'm going to mention this fucking program every single day, because I genuinely think it's such a fucking steal. And also it's like so fucking good for you. You get all the courses, the aesthetic body course and everything else. So the Library of Adonis is linked below. I hope it serves you well if you do join. Click and watch this video to keep learning. Goodbye.